Hi, this is Sarmad Imtiaz, presenting Intellectual Property Rights Management System, the implementation, benefits, and business processes. I'm doing my MSc in Information Systems Management through the University of Salford. So let's get into it. What we'll be covering today are the project objectives, the traditional project approach, the agile project approach, benefits of leveraging technology for management, the architectural benefits, media business processes for rights in, media business processes for finance, and how finance manages the system, and so forth. First of all, the project objectives. Why do we want to manage our intellectual property rights through an information system? Why do we want a software? First, revenue optimization. You provide effective support utilization, efficient content maximization, more return on your investment. Two, growth. You can support expansion in all of your different property rights, linear, nonlinear, um, and so forth. Improve visibility. You have thousands of assets that you own and need to take care of, but you don't know how many times you've utilized those assets. If by leveraging technology, you can actually understand how many times you can use an asset, how many available runs you have for that asset. Do you need to renegotiate that asset? What is the return on that asset? It provides more visibility, better financial decisions, better strategic support to make those decisions, analytical and reporting capabilities. Compliance and due diligence. There's legal compliances all around managing media businesses. There's in Canada, there's CRTC, which makes you obliged through the CRTC laws. There's contractual obligations. You can manage all of those obligations, legal obligations within your property, intellectual property management system. And standardization and consistency. Same language, same tools across all different small business sectors that you have allows for more faster, rapid expansion, just standards, consistency. So, while implementing this project, there were two different approaches considered. One was the traditional approach, but first let's dive into what was part of this project. This was not just a functional project, there was also data migration. We had to kill our legacy systems, archive the data from there, but also migrate the data into our new system. Integration, connecting to our different other systems, which manage our scheduling, our acquisitions, our finance systems. So this was a systems of system project, and the traditional approach would be to plan all of this out, plan it, plan the designing, plan the development, and theoretical scenarios. All decisions are made by people, everything is everyone's head. It's a very big brainstorm, prone to change as realities sink in. It's focused on completing one phase, then moving on to the next. The second approach that was considered was the agile approach, in which you chunk it out into your main categories within the project. For example, in the media business, you have your main categories are your parties. Parties are your different contractual parties. If you buy Game of Thrones, you have someone who sold Game of Thrones to you. Maybe HBO sold you that Game of Thrones. So HBO is one party to the contract, and your company would be the second party to the contract. So parties asset would be Game of Thrones. Contract would be the contract that you would sign for Game of Thrones. You would, for example, sign you bought the rights for one season with 10 episodes, and you can air those episodes four times each, twice on the weekday. Maybe you have video on demand rights for it as well, so you have unlimited runs on your video on demand, and so forth. And then there's consumption. Consumption is how many times have you consumed Game of Thrones, the episode of Game of Thrones. Have you used your weekend rights once? Have you used them twice? Have you run out? Do you need more? So consumption is a big part of this project. So breaking it down into these sectors: parties, asset, contracts, consumption, finance. And the way you tackle that is you do each phase on its own, and it's faster. As you can see, you plan, design, development, and test of one phase while the other phase is going. More simultaneous work can be done. There's less waterfall methodology going on. What it allowed you, in our case, the key piece was we saw problems early on into the project. We saw code early on. We saw any missed functional gaps. A media business is very complicated. You cannot predict all functional gaps on from the get-go. So having users be in the system, try to work with parties or try to work with assets, allowed them to foresee, oh, we're missing this functionality that we are going to need. That allowed them a big part. So the approach we took was the agile approach for this key instance, especially if you move on forward to the integration issues as well and the data migration issues and so forth. So agile approach worked better for us. We took the agile approach. Um, but why? Why move away from our legacy systems and leverage this new technology to effectively manage our rights? Four main different reasons. The rights tree. The rights tree allowed us to more effectively spend allocations due to the visibility and asset performance. I'll elaborate on the rights tree just a little. There's hundreds of rights that you have in the business. Linear rights, non-linear rights. What that means is your rights can be, keeping it simple, can be video on demand, or it can be cable, or maybe you're still on the DVD days, which is unlikely at this point, but for so forth. Next, contract admin. If there is a team that has to enter all of the rights that you got, all of the assets that you had, and that needs to be implemented, and you have to be compliant. You cannot infringe on your rights. There's a cost associated to it. So if you had an automated system which would automatically flag, hey, you're going past your limit of usage, or your rights just expired and now your contract needs to be renegotiated. An automatic flag is much better than a system where you have to go in and check, are we okay? Do we need to renegotiate? So moving towards a newer technology allowed automation for us as well, like I said. And then automatic calculations for finances, automatic payouts, automatic loyalty payouts, automatic amortizations. That helped us in a big way. Scalability. The architecture of this new system allowed scalability. We could easily ramp up because of being on the cloud. We could easily ramp up and ramp down our performance as our users grew. Covered performance as well. Extensibility with SOA, the out-of-the-box modular services allowed us to easily integrate with our other systems, which gave us a lot of flexibility to manage some of our older legacy systems, which we just could not park at this time. And configurability, we could change our data models, we could change our UI, we could change our APIs to match our needs. Even though most of the product was out of the box, the configurability, the customization of the product allowed us to change it to our own business needs, which are unique here in Canada. We cannot just copy paste a US based or a UK based replica. That doesn't work for us. We needed the configurability. Easy to deploy support. It's a browser-based application. No installations required. Works on most browsers, Chrome, Safari, IE, and real-time services. Their batch jobs have been minimized. You get a lot of your updates instantly. The databases being used are MongoDB to allow more real-time microservices and so forth. How does the system operate? Like, just to give you some understanding of the media business flow, the rights in media business flow to understand. As you can pay attention, someone has to, there are content owners, someone made Game of Thrones. They're the content owners, and they might have some production partners that needs to be negotiated. Once that is negotiated and you have the contracts, you could put into your asset maintenance. Game of Thrones is now your asset. And then once you have your asset, you need to distribute that asset. Maybe you own 50 channels, or you are working with third-party licenses and distributor platforms. So you have to work with them, and you have to make sure how that works. We have different modules in our new software which allows us to leverage all of these tools. We could rights in, rights out, talent payments, and so forth. You see all these modules, but right at a high level, what that allowed us to do was actually go in and put a Game of Thrones season in, got the asset, put in the rights. We have these many runs, let's say 20 runs per episode. We're going to give 3 to this channel, 5 to the other channel. I'm going to make it work that way. Licensing helped us out. There was planning and scheduling help support within. But at the end of it, the scheduling part, the report builder part, the metrics, the analytics that the executive team needs, the financing reports that the executive team needs. Reporting was a key piece that this new technology provided, which we could use to leverage our growth and expansion while minimizing our operational costs. It takes less people, but still can get more work done. And moving on to the finance support system called the finance system. The rights in allowed payment capitalization, amortization, while the rights out also automatically did royalty processing, invoicing, budget and forecasting. Talent payments went automatically. So what this allowed us to do at a high level, moving to the end of the presentation, what this allowed us to do was take care of the input of the system. Make a system, get it out of box, configure it to our needs, put in our inputs like we needed, manage our rights according to our legal obligations, and have a system which will automatically flag our important aspects of the business for us, which allowed us to then report against it, have analytics. The executive team could decide what they need to buy, what we need to de-scope out of our buying strategy, and so forth. Thanks for watching.